We find in today's gospel that as we look at it and read through it, we can pretty much divide it in 4 parts. And as we read each part, we can see that the main theme that happens throughout them is the total dedication necessary for the disciple of Jesus. The first part talks about no attachment to family. And it's interesting that as we read the words of the gospel, the word hate appears. When Jesus says that we have to hate our parents. So it might seem like a little extreme. Why is he saying that we have to hate them? In other part of the gospel, he said that we have to love our father and our mother. We have to honor them. So Jesus here is using extreme language to make a point. So he's not saying that we literally have to hate our family members. Because on the contrary, in the gospel, he said that even our enemies we have to love. So if we're not permitted to hate our enemies, of course we're not permitted to hate our family. So what is he saying? That our love, our devotion, our respect for our family cannot be above the love, respect, and devotion that we have for God. That we had to put our family in the right perspective, in the right order. Because what happens when we put God in the first place, that he teaches how to love our family. He teaches the right order of which we should live our lives. St. Jose Maria Escrivá said the following about these verses. These words indicate simply that we cannot be half-hearted when it comes to loving God. Christ's words could be translated as love more, love better, in the sense that a selfish or partial love is not enough. We have to love others with the love of God. So the first part spoke of the no attachment to family. The second part we see about the readiness to accept persecution and suffering. So we know that the Lord said, you want to follow me, deny yourself, take up your cross, follow me. If you lay down your life for me, you will save it. So this is the Christian way to follow Christ by imitating Christ. We follow him by bearing our crosses. And I think we've all had different experience of suffering. Suffering because we lost a loved one. Suffering because we have economic problems. Suffering because our family seems to be falling apart. What do we do with those moments of suffering? Even those that seem very unfair. In that moment, we embrace the cross. See, the cross is not a tragedy. It is God's way of teaching us that through suffering, we can be sanctified, becoming one with Christ, and winning heaven as our reward. Jose Maria Escrivá also spoke of this when he said, let us bless pain, love pain, sanctify pain, glorify pain. Not in a sadistic way of doing it, but knowing that through the pain of the cross, Jesus has transformed all of the reality of pain. Pain who might have seem like useless, pointless. Christ has transformed the pain in the cross and given redemptive value. So it's no longer just a senseless pain, but the Lord, through his blood, through his sacrifice, has given, even pain, he has given it value. So first, no attachment to family. Second, readiness to accept persecution and suffering. The third point, realistic assessment of the hardships and costs. So when we follow the Lord, we have to be realistic of what it's going to entail, what it's going to take to follow. So he uses several examples that even in the human way, we had to calculate the cost of things. If we're going to build a house, we got to figure out how much is it going to cost me. Am I being realistic? Or if it's gonna bankrupt me, it might be a better thing to kind of think about it, wait, save more money, or make a smaller house. So even in the human dimension, we know that we have to think about the cost. So also when we follow Christ, we have to realize the cost that is gonna take us, so that we can give our life more generous. The last one, no attachment to possessions. Something happened to me on this past Sunday, I was at St. Mark's Church giving a vocational announcements throughout all the masses. And it happened to be a rainy day, if you remember, this past Sunday. So I brought with me an umbrella, and that umbrella is very special for me. It was given by my sister 4 years ago. It's pretty awesome because the handle of the umbrella looks like the hilt of a sword. So you look at it from afar, you think, oh, he's holding a sword, but it's actually an umbrella. So it's kind of geeky, kind of funny thing, present that my sister gave to me, which funny enough, she gave me that present when I went to El Paso. So she gave it to me before I got into the airport. So yeah, thanks, sister, because she gave me this sword-looking umbrella as I go through the airport security. But it went well. I kept it in a box. They didn't ask questions about it. So I love that umbrella, and I look forward to rain because I get to take it out and use it and you know, show it around the people and get questions from people about the uniqueness of that umbrella. So to go back to the story, I went to St. Mark, brought my umbrella, used it very happily as I went into the church, and they put it in the sacristy. After I got out, I served in Mass, gave my announcement, it went great. I went back to the sacristy, it was gone. And it was in the sacristy, it wasn't just out there and anywhere, it was in the sacristy. Like the holy place, the most respectful place, the sacristy, and it was gone. I looked around everywhere, I couldn't find it. And that made me so angry. I was really angry. How is it possible? I was so indignant. How is it possible that one of us who's serving the Lord, stole my umbrella? I didn't know who was that and saw it and took it, or why they did. But during the following 2-3 masses, I kept that anger inside of me that was still kind of brewing on me. And it was hard to give the message of hope, of vocations with that kind of going on in me. Until I finally realized I was really attached to that umbrella. It was an unhealthy attachment to that umbrella. Something so simple. But I couldn't let it go until I finally said, Lord, I give it to you. It's your umbrella now. It's yours now. And it was so freeing. It was so freeing to be able to just let it go and say, okay, whether I find it or not, it doesn't matter anymore. It's yours. It's yours, Lord. And the next month was very different, the way I carried myself, the way I presented the message with more joy. This is what happens when we have this unhealthy attachment to possessions. They take over us. And it's kind of scary how much attachment to even a simple thing, even if it has an emotional attachment, how much it can hold on to us. So I finish with this. There's something radical about our encounter with Jesus. Our encounter with Jesus always must change us, transform us. We can't meet the Lord and go back to our lives like nothing happened. There's always a certain transformation, a character transformation with our encounter with the Lord. So we ask as we continue our discipleship that we reflect on what are the unhealthy attachments that we have in our lives. And may we offer them to the Lord and love them with all our hearts, minds, and strength.